Okay, so to begin with, let's understand what a perfectly competitive industry or market is. So when an industry or a market is perfectly competitive, um, one aspect of it is that decisions of individual buyers and sellers have no effect on the market price. And this is really important. So what we say is that they are price takers. And as far as perfectly competitive firms go, what that means is that the firm is so small with respect to the industry as a whole that it really has no impact on price by itself. It's such a small fraction of the market that it's any changes in its output decision really don't affect the market at all in any significant way. And so it doesn't affect its decisions have no impact on the price. And so, like I mentioned, in this case, in competitive markets, we call these types of firms price takers because they can't influence the price in any way. They just have to take the market price as given. So the price that's determined by the equilibrium of supply and demand is the price that they have to sell at. They have no choice other than to sell at that equilibrium price determined by market supply and demand. So let's talk about why a perfect competitor is a price taker. Well, it's because there are a large number of buyers and sellers in the market. So large, in fact, that it has no influence on price. In addition to that, the product that it sells is homogeneous, which means that it's identical or almost nearly identical, at least, to the products that its competitors sell. And so in that way, it's basically indistinguishable. So an example of this might be like a wheat farmer, right? A single wheat farmer, his or her product is basically identical to the wheat of any other farmer, okay? Another reason that these types of firms are price takers is because we assume that both buyers and sellers have access to all of the relevant information, and so that there's basically no secrets. In other words, and in that way they can't influence the price. Okay, and then the last reason is that any firm that's perfectly competitive can basically enter or leave the market without any sort of serious costs or impediments. So let's look at an example of a firm that's most likely perfectly competitive. Propane distribution. So the propane distribution market exhibits most of these key characteristics of perfect competition, pretty much all of them, in fact. Propane sold by any one distributor is basically indistinguishable from propane sold by any other of its competitors. Entry into or exit from this type of market is relatively easy. In addition to that, many households and small businesses use propane as fuel, so there's lots of buyers, and there's also lots of sellers. You can buy propane at almost any gas station or grocery store. And in addition to that, parties have access to all relevant information, right? Propane is propane, there's nothing to hide about it, and prices are easily discoverable.